Gentleman's Game here. You know, I frequently get long, drawn-out emails or messages from guys asking for specific advice about their particular situation with some girl that they're really into. And most of the time, in fact I'd say like 90% of the time, it'll be a situation where the girl rarely knows he exists or is already talking to another dude. Seriously, you'd be surprised the amount of messages I get saying something along the lines of, "Hey man, I really like this girl. I've had a crush on her for 3 years, but she just got a boyfriend. What do I do?" So, as you can probably guess, most of the time I suggest to walk away from her, even if you're really infatuated with her, because guess what? You can meet another girl tomorrow that's just as attractive, if not more attractive. And who knows, maybe she'll actually be willing to reciprocate your feelings a lot more, or the logistics will simply be better. But at the same time, I obviously don't always recommend to walk away. There are definitely situations where I suggest you double down on being persistent in trying to win her over. Now the question becomes, when should you walk away from her and when should you not? Now this is a question that needs a pretty nuanced answer, so I thought I'd attempt to do so by giving you a few examples of situations where you definitely should walk away, and then on the opposite end, an example of when you should still try to fan the flame, so to speak. So let's just get right into it. So picture this, you have a crush on a girl from work, so you work up the courage to say hi and introduce yourself. She's friendly enough, but when you ask for her number, she gives you this look like, "I hope you're not getting the wrong idea here," and instead gives you her Instagram. You try messaging her on Instagram and she responds, but she's not giving you a flirty vibe back. She's friendly enough, sure, but there's no sexual or romantic tension there. The next day you meet her in the office again, and she's courteous and friendly enough. You decide you're gonna ask her straight up if she wants to go on a date with you. "Hey Alyssa, what are you doing Friday night?" "Oh, I think I'm just catching a movie with some of my girls." "Oh, what about Saturday night?" "Oh, sorry, I think I made plans with my neighbor already." At this point you start to feel frustrated and defeated, so you tell her, "Okay." You walk back to your desk and quietly sulk. Now, in this situation, should you just walk away? The answer is easily and unequivocally yes. You should walk away from her and move on. Reason being, she's given you multiple signs that she's just not that into you. Never mind the fact that dating coworkers is rarely a good idea. If you ask a girl on a date and she gives a reason why she can't come, but doesn't suggest an alternative time to set up a date, chances are she's not feeling that high level of attraction yet, and she's not going to be down to give you the time of day. At this point, successfully seducing her will either take way too much time and effort, or not possible at all. You see, when you're not sure whether or not it's worth it to continue trying to seduce her, or to just walk away and move on, see if she's putting in effort to maintain any sort of really friendly or flirty vibe. Right? If she's laughing at your jokes, leaning in slightly, contributing to the conversation and whatnot, those are good signs, so definitely stay and see things through to the end. But if she's not putting in this minimum level of contributing, I'd suggest to just walk away. Now, another scenario where I'd almost always suggest to walk away is if she's being toxic. I made a video a few weeks ago on types of women to avoid, but those are some good archetypes to keep mindful of for different types of toxic girls. Any signs of emotional manipulation, excessive baggage, extreme insecurity, these are all signs you're dealing with a toxic woman who you should definitely walk away from. And the thing is, when you're infatuated with someone, you might not even notice she's being toxic, right? Or maybe you'll make excuses for her toxic behavior so you can continue simping. This is very common because, after all, it's hard to be rational when you're being emotional, right? If you're not sure whether she's being toxic or not, always get a third-party opinion, ideally one of your bros or close friends. Now, of course, there are times where a girl might seem like she's being toxic, but maybe she's just in a bad mood or something, and other times she's actually a sweet girl. If you're in this situation and you're not sure whether to give her the benefit of doubt, consider if her toxic behavior is her nature. Right? If it's a pattern of her acting out in a certain way and she's showing you that it's something she can't change, that it's her nature to do this toxic thing, then walk away. I've just given you some examples of when you definitely should walk away from a girl. Now, what about an example of when not to walk away? Well, like I said before, if she's showing some interest back, you feel like you're not wasting your time, and you like her, then go for it. Right? Another example where I don't think you should walk away is if there's already high investment on both sides. Right? For example, if you're dating a girl or you've been seeing her for some time and things with her were always pretty exciting or fun, but then one day out of the blue you guys get into a big argument, I'd recommend weighing the reason you guys argued with how much you like her otherwise, and whether that was an uncommon or common occurrence. Right? If you're really into this girl, maybe give her a second chance, otherwise you might really regret it. The main point I'm trying to make is making the decision of whether or not you should date a girl to walk away from her. It requires nuance based on your individual dynamic with her. Like, you're gonna have to consider a lot of different things, like how much both of you are individually invested in the relationship. So I think it's actually pretty useful to run through a series of questions the next time you're considering walking away, but not completely sure you want to. You see, whenever I find myself in this conundrum, I stress test my situation with these set of questions that give me a much clearer picture of where I stand with the girl and if I'm better off just moving on. The first question is, how well do you know this girl? Right? If this is a girl you just met or just a random girl you match with on Tinder, then like we mentioned, there's low investment on both sides. So if she's not being very responsive or already rejected you, move on, bro. Another thing to consider is whether she's already involved with another guy. Right? It's common sense to be honest, but walk away if she's already involved with someone else, even if it's just casual. Right? From my experience, it's rarely worth the effort, and even if you manage to win her over the other guy, more times than not, if she's the type to juggle talking to multiple guys, those relationships tend not to last. Again, each situation takes nuance and your own reflection, but keep that question in consideration when you're feeling conflicted about a situation. Another thing to consider is, has she crossed a boundary? Whether you just met this girl or you've been dating her for a year now, there are going to be times when you need to reinforce your boundaries. As a man, you have to be aware of what you're willing and not willing to accept from a girl. So when a woman does something unforgivable, like say cheats on you or betrays you in some other way, obviously walk away from her. At the end of the day, you have to be aware of your own boundaries and what they are, so that when someone intrudes on those boundaries, you can reinforce them, or worst case scenario, cut that person from your life. Next question you need to ask yourself when you're considering walking away is, what is the reason you're considering walking away? Whatever it is that's bothering you about the situation, is it something you can help remedy, or is it something you can't change? Right? For example, let's say you've been seeing this girl for a while now, and you like her a lot, but she's a terrible communicator. Like, she's bad at texting, picking up your calls, things like that while you're not with her. Right? If this personality trait is bothering you a lot, to the point where you're considering moving on, and it isn't something you can fix or help remedy, honestly, I'd suggest to either mentally prepare to deal with it forever, or just move on. Right? Not that she can't change and be a good texter in the future, but it's not something you have control over, so again, you need to be willing to either deal with it forever or simply walk away. Alright guys, those are some different scenarios and some things to keep in mind when you're considering moving on from a girl. A lot of these, to be honest, were just rapid fire thoughts I had from reading some of these messages I received, so sorry if it came off as a bit disorganized. Right, well, that's it for the video, and check out my Instagram in the description box below if you haven't yet. Next week I have a special video planned, so make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and as always, peace.